thank you, Mr.
comments you'd like to
Chairman,
make.
and welcome to Los Angeles County's Hall of Administration. We appreciate the opportunity to share our views. The 5 supervisors have different points of view, but we've been able to work together to have some meaningful reforms and reductions in costs and enhancements with efficiencies. But let me just first state that the $25 billion budget deficit that the state has is a direct result of your overspending. And to have a realignment, many people would call it a Trojan horse, by forcing state responsibilities onto the counties, many of those who have been able to have prudent management, fiscal management, is going to be a disservice because there is no stable source of funding. If an enhanced extension of the taxes, it would be approved, that's only for a 5-year period, and the counties do not have the ability to impose income taxes, and property taxes don't have the ability to provide for health services. They basically should be providing for property-related services, including the parks, libraries, and other vital services. The states between 1976 and 2010 had a 160% increase in the number of employees, and your number of state employees earning over $100,000 exceeded 19,000, 5,000 over 200,000, and 1,000 over 300,000. The issue of that I would like to relate to is that we ought to be focusing on how we stop this exodus of jobs that we've had in our state. Our local Southern California Auto Club has now relocated their call center to Texas. We've lost Bank of America, Ditech, J.C. Penney, Northrop Grumman, Fidelity National, California Casualty Group, and we have not been able to focus on bringing jobs here, which will increase our revenues and make us be able to pay for the vital services that we need. This was the California Performance Review, which recommended $32 billion in cost-saving measures. We're not saying that all of these had to be approved or ought to be approved, but these were just common sense issues dealing with streamlining health and human service eligibility, which would save $4 billion, consolidating the Medical Assistance Commission with its $2.3 million budget into the Department of Health and Human Services, creating a workforce plan for performance measures, saving $3.3 billion, implementing the annual DMV vehicle registration, saves $1.3 million, standardizing criminal background checks in health and human service agencies using smart cards for Medi-Cal patients, it's over $100 million. We have a Productivity Efficiency Commission that has saved since 1972 over $3 billion in doing similar types of consolidations, reforms within our operations, how we handle county issues. We consolidated and eliminated about 20 county departments through consolidation, again, saving millions and millions of dollars. We just had a unanimous vote to reform civil service reform, and we spent over a year, our Economy and Efficiency Commission, along with some consultants, on how we would make greater efficiencies with our civil service rules, getting rid of antiquated systems, programs that may take 2 years, 3 years to get adjudicated. All to save money. We have been doing this, and local government has been very responsive in many of these areas. So when you talk about the issue of, then another issue that's absent right now is pension reform. We've been involved in looking at the pension reform and instituting and working on those issues. We have worked with our labor organizations. We've not had salary increases. We have tried to create greater efficiencies in the workplace. But when you talk about placing on the justice system responsibilities into the counties, what's interesting, your Department of Juvenile Justice, these are statistics from the state controller, you have 2,222 full-time employees for a population of about 1,300 wards. That's 1.7 staff for each young man, young woman. When you add the part-time and intermittent staff, that's 1.9. So you have a bloated bureaucracy that's adding to those costs. And then on your own, the DJJ's own website, they say that 95% of these commitments have a history of serious and violent crimes. It also states that its population consists of those with the most violent criminal backgrounds who have exceptional treatment needs that, quote, cannot be assessed by county programs. So we're going to shift all these people to our 58 counties. Makes no sense. We have a lack of facilities for our current 18,000 plus inmates. Through AB 900, we have revenues to enhance those facilities and make additional bed space. Now the state wants us to use that money to build for the state prisoners who are going to be sent to the counties. Our counties were not made to function that way. And this idea of we're going to have a ballot proposition in June and all is well, and then we can continue without having the major structural reforms at the state level, again, as I said before, it's like a magician's sleight of hand trick. We're not resolving it. Harvard University reported a reduction of 5 to 6 reported crimes for each criminal locked up and a significant decrease in homicide and other violent crimes. And the Department of Justice indicated that the Bureau of Justice Statistics, since 1973, we've had a decrease in crime, even though the population grew by more than 75%. So releasing these people early is not going to be the answer. Giving local government the authority to impose taxes isn't going to work. New York has an income tax, New York City. They have a very serious deficit. But Governor Cuomo, Governor Daniels, Cuomo, New York, Christie of New Jersey, Daniels of Indiana, Kasich of Ohio, and the other governors are having reductions and structural reforms. And here we're saying we ought to keep everything the same by shifting responsibilities to the counties with a continuance of a tax that expires in another 5 years, which will leave us with the problem. But worst of all, we have the liability for these people, which no longer the state will have. So again, it's a Pandora's box. It's a serious issue. And if we're going to have a ballot proposition in June, there ought to be one that also talks about structural reforms, downsizing the state government, making us more competitive with our neighboring states to attract jobs. We had a special regulatory relief bill by the legislature to build a football stadium in the city of industry. Now we have a full court press to build another football stadium by having regulatory relief from the state legislature. All 5 of the supervisors have projects in our districts that could have regulatory relief. For example, in my district, a high school in Castaic, a library in Santa Cruz Valley, a medical facility in Antelope Valley that could benefit by being built now instead of spending years in regulatory processes. Let's equate those with the same priority and sense of urgency as we do football stadiums. Let's start serving the people instead of a few vested interests. So anyway, I see a lot of problems with realignment. It sounds good, but again, it's taking responsibilities from the state, shifting it to the local governments, and we don't have the ability to be, the sheriff cannot be the crime or the warden for the state any more than probation would be in charge of CYY. And as you know, the Youth Authority, which is now with the name change, when a young man is 25, he cannot be transferred to a state penitentiary even though they're in there for murder and violent crimes. They have to be released back to the community. So you're going to have all of these individuals pushed down on local government with our responsibility and then allow us to have the liability that these people will impact. You had a program with probation shifting them to the local governments this past year. It's already taken over $6 million out of our general fund, over $6 million that could be going for health services and other programs. This was another unfunded mandate from the state. We see this as more of the same with your realignment. Thank you.